Hello, welcome back, folks, to the Unshakable Soul podcast. We are on episode 47, and I have with us today Saman Tayari. Welcome on the show.
Thank you, Sophia. It's a pleasure. I love to be here.
Thanks for agreeing to come. And today we have for the listeners a really powerful and important topic on the healing power of sound and breath. Now, I know for a lot of people, breath work and sound healing is a big thing, especially if you're in the wellness scene. You've heard the buzzwords a lot. And I wanted to invite Saman today to really hone in on why it's so powerful and magical because you are the expert and the one I found in Ottawa that is just has blown my mind with your talent and craft. So let's share it to our listeners.
Yeah, so I can talk about a little bit about myself and my journey
Mhm.
and how I got to this point that I'm doing the breath sessions and sound healing. So just going back, I I start with my music side. So when I was very young, I started playing a drum called tombak. So I went to different teachers and recently a maestro in Tombak. I've been even now since then I've been taking classes. So because there's always learning and growing in that area. So that's my music side that I was exposed to. I mean, throughout I also played other instruments. Uh, I mean, cajon. I played cajon for a while, as well as a Persian instrument called tar. I did that when I was younger, but I left that one behind. And interesting enough, I think my connection to music, so there was definitely having the option, exposure to play, but it took me probably many years, maybe when I was in my 30s. That was when I just turned 40, by the way. So it was in my 30s that it clicked all of a sudden that uh, the the connection with the instrument could be a lot deeper, and it's not necessarily just playing rhythms and being good at performing, which, like I said, I'm always getting better, and there's no end to that part. But there's also the passion and the emotions that you add to it. So that was the layer that I really learned better about and connected me to the instrument so much that I really feel sad if I'm not playing it for, let's say, a week or so. So I feel that I don't have that connection. So it's one of the closest connections. So that's the music side. I can show you actually, this is my tombak, a beautiful instrument that was made by this real artist in Iran. He made this, I don't know, it's a masterpiece. And the
What's the
sound,
wood? Do you know the material that was used?
yeah, so it's a kind of a very uh I forgot how to translate, but probably mulberry. I don't know I have to go find the word. But basically they really find a very special tree. So it's kind of like every time I play, I kind of think about that tree too that was sacrificed, and of course the skin, the drum head. So yeah, it's just uh, a real art, I would say. And I love what they did with this one. So yeah, so that's the music side. So that connection, when I got deeper, I was I started to bring it when I started my yoga journey. I mean, I have been practicing yoga for a long time for myself. I mean, exactly, I guess it was seriously since 2014. And but when I started teaching, that was when it connected that, okay, the music layer, I can add it. I remember at one of my practicums that I was delivering for my yoga teacher training, I brought the comeback. I added that layer, and the teacher, I remember on the recommendation, on the comments, the teacher, she kindly said, "This has to turn into a workshop ASAP." So yeah, so she really felt that as well, and it was very good encouragement for me. So I started playing tombak at every single yoga session that I taught. And basically, that was just the beginning of it. And then I was introduced to the breath. I was very curious about it. So, and then I went to do trainings at the 3 levels with Krista Reed out of the 4 levels that she has. And then that was the introduction. It was also a good wake up that, okay, breath is another side that I can really get a bit deeper in. And all of these layers together brought the new journey, which is now basically playing my drums, guiding people through breath, and sharing the power of breath with them and letting them experience that. And on top of that, adding my music and my drums, as well as other sounds that I generate. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing it all. It's a beautiful journey, and again, weaving all these different modalities into what has been birthed recently is Rise with Rhythm. So tell us a little bit about the story behind the name, and also I took from your website, um, you had mentioned beneath Rise with Rhythm, a journey to discovering harmony within. So if you could speak a bit about what that means for you as well.
Yeah, harmony within, it starts from my couple of minutes a day that I just spend time with myself. No matter what I normally have, I always have that time with myself. And that time, that is when I really feel most gratitude for the world and I feel connected to myself. I feel uh, the potential. I feel the love in myself and in the world. So I think that was always the trigger. So that thing that I've felt within, and I always feel like, and I've had the uh, I've been fortunate to be taken through experiences when I went to other people's yoga sessions, and I know we other different teachers that I've been to, and they definitely transform me every time I go to their sessions. So I really want to share that same experience, or at least allow people who haven't had such experiences to maybe come to that conclusion that okay, you want to get connected to yourself more and learn more and get to that quiet space inside. It's just a very, in a way, I mean, even if you just don't call it spiritual, the peacefulness of that moment is unbeatable. So that's what definitely triggered this journey for me. And I started with workshops. I mean, for breath, I started one-on-one sessions at first, and I realized that it is working. I mean, I had seen it in the training, but seeing myself independently delivering and seeing that people could find their journey of breath was very impressive and in a way life-changing for me. So I started doing the workshops and the in terms of Rise with Rhythm, it actually the name came from the session the first time I had a workshop in or a yoga session in City of Om. I offered a session and I was brainstorming with my girlfriend actually. We were like, okay, we need a name for this session. And one of the thoughts was rising with rhythm or rise with rhythm. And I remember I had actually another name that was similar, but it was very similar to someone else's song name or something. So we changed this. I came up with this one with the help of others. So rising with rhythm in a way, which I can explain a bit more, but basically assuming that you're in a state and you can be elevated with going deeper, finding your your rhythm within and the rhythm outside, and connecting to those. They can definitely elevate you, bring you to a higher self, or at least that peaceful thing that I was experience that I was just talking about. So this is a the background.
Interesting. Thanks for that. It's kind of a interesting like duality or not irony, but there's this peaceful and stillness you talk about in the inner harmony that could be maybe the end result of this journey. But then the question becomes, why would adding sound, how could that create actually that harmony and serenity and stillness and peace within you? So if you think about it, um, there's like sound and a lot of things going on. So wouldn't that disturb somebody?
Good point. Very good point. I think rhythm is the most familiar thing for people because before they're born, they hear their mother's heartbeat. So they're very, very familiar with it. And it's the most comfortable thing for people to get connected to. And do you need music? You don't. You don't really need music to have experiences within or with outside the universe around you. But it can be a support. It's like an anchor. You are in an experience, so you can definitely explore things by yourself. But if you have the music, you can connect to that, like, and ride the journey with the help of that music. But of course, there are people who don't necessarily need any kind of sound. They could just be in the most quiet moment and uh, explore something very profound.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give the dual example of like in a summertime, you're in a festival outside, there's a lot of sound and music and movement, very yang. Versus now in Canada, it's the winter time, it's yin, it's silent. I was just walking outside. It's like, whoa, that brings in a different piece and connection within, the harmony within. So does potentially the festival outside, right in the summer. So they both have their own magical way of creating that harmony within. And the way I guess you mentioned a lot of the time the journey. So I want to go deeper in what do you mean about the journey? So perhaps sharing with the audience what has been your journey with finding your rhythm, with sound, and with breath. Like how have you seen yourself shift?
Um, I think the biggest part is just being comfortable with myself, being comfortable with my thoughts, and being able to. I think eventually it's just the journey means not that you're intentionally doing that, but the result is that your mind goes very quiet, and that's how my experience has been. And that is, uh, it can. I mean, when you mentioned breath, like it could, for me, those experiences show up when I do breath holds. I've had experience that it's just I feel like you are in this vacuum, this void, which is uh, in a way empty but full of uh, harmony. So that is the experience, I would say. And yeah, that's my experience. And breath is also very powerful. I mean, the scientific part, the what it does in terms of the balance between oxygen and CO2 and the different experiences that it creates for the brain. It also has uh, pretty much a lot more significance because I see breath as something beyond just a mechanical movement or something that brings us air, uh, uh, life. It's really it comes with moving energy. It comes with basically every part of our existence is related to breath. And if we cultivate that very well, we can connect with the nature, with our rhythm better. And yeah, I think breath is very, very powerful. And it doesn't have to be a very specific kind. There are different approaches. People use different breath to
Mhm.
get there, but each person has their path.
Mhm. So if somebody's listening right now and they're like, "Ooh, this sounds interesting, like breath, inner harmony, peace, like that's something that I want." What would you say is the benefit, really? Like if somebody's starting to practice breath work, go to sound healing journeys, come to one of your events, like what outcomes can they expect?
The outcomes on a day-to-day basis, I think overall, more gratitude for life is more love for the universe around them. I think that's number one in my mind. The rest is having more clarity, being more confident in day-to-day life when you know your path better, because you had those clear moments for yourself, then you make decisions better on because every moment in our life is a decision, and making those decisions the right way and in a very, uh, I mean, in a way that aligns with who you really are. Because it's really hard to get distracted by things around us, all the basic every stimulant around us that cause those distractions. It's very easy to get there, but if you're really clear, you're really content,
Mhm.
then you can find what you really want within and that find your path better.
Mhm.
That's how I see it. So basically the a lot of I guess more focus as well. And people will see that as well. They will see that you are more yourself, you're more genuine, and you might leave better impression on people. And yeah, I think people will see that change as well. So once you uh, practice those moments for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And you just mentioned before that there are different types of breath practices, right? There's some that relax, there's some that activate. If somebody was wanting to start off on their journey, right? Their inner journey, whatever they just want to like transform themselves, they want to be able to feel more harmony inside, like what would be the first step you'd offer them?
I think, I mean, I'm also new on this path. I don't really call myself an expert, but I would say there's always, it doesn't matter what it is. I think the first step in a way is breath awareness, knowing, paying attention throughout the day about your breath, thinking, okay, I'm sitting here, for instance, and how am I breathing? Is it shallow breathing? Am I breathing fast? Am I uh, taking deep breaths? Uh, what's the combination of inhale and exhale? What is the length of my breath? So if we start thinking about it, I think the awareness, probably that's the one of the first steps, and all of a sudden you will have a lot of benefits out of it as long as you just pay attention to it. And then you can choose if you want to do breath work that is meant for gaining more stamina, or you want to go deeper on the mental side or on spiritual side, you can definitely choose different paths. And I know there's so many approaches like people uh, s simulate high altitude training using breath at sea level, for instance. You've heard of that, I'm sure. Or others get comfortable with cold temperature uh, using breath, or develop better. physical strength when they exercise. So all of that is the physical side. There's on the spiritual side, there are definitely breath and maybe more on the shamanic side that can allow you to go deeper. But all of these are all in a way connected, and there's an overlap. There is always so all of these are in a way even if your intention is one, you will gain the rest as well, no matter what. They're all connected, like in my mind. Yeah.
Mhm. And in terms of the people that are coming to see you, whether one-on-one or in your events, in your workshops, what pattern can you see in the feedback they're giving, in the comments, the general comments, in what they're asking for?
Yeah, so it's a very wide range of experiences and what they share with me. And of course, it's their experiences normally stays within the session, but at a very high level, I would say they are, no matter what, most of them are, if they're new to breath, they are always very surprised. And they tell me, they talk about their physical experience of, let's say, feeling heat or cold or numbness or shaking movements or those and similar symptoms, I would say. But they also talk about certain visuals and experiences. So that's what I always hear, that it's normally one of these. So there's at least one of these. But then on the deeper level, I got feedback from someone recently that they felt profound amount of gratitude and love for everyone. So that was a very special one I heard. And I know everyone's experience is very special, but that one resonated very well with me. Yeah, so it depends on, I guess, the expectation, what they come to the session for. And sometimes I know I've had sessions with people who were able to receive certain messages and connect to something beyond themselves. So or have visions of uh, unity and yeah, so being one with the universe, I guess. So it's been very diverse, I would say, but at minimum, there is some sort of a surprise or uh, change in terms of the physical sensations and also feeling grounded, relaxed for most of the times. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely I can identify with some of those symptoms, right? The for me was in the heart, just kind of this like I couldn't my hands were glued to the mat and it was a lot here in the arms and the hands and the heart. Because the breathing style was the active breath. And it got a lot. Like I remember once, I just did it 3 times at once, and that was in your session. It's like I got into the fetal position. I talked to you about it. And I mean, I know I was going through whatever I was going through, and but it was a lot, right? Um, so it can lead to profound, like there's a big healing power. I know you mentioned about, yeah, training, of course, for going up mountains, even going down to the bottom of the sea. You can use your breath to train athletically. Um, but for the sake of this conversation, I know a lot of my listeners are really on the spiritual awakening path. It's the power, as you mentioned, with some feedback of feeling this gratitude, this oneness, this remembering, if I could put it that way, of like you're breathing the same air as me. We're having different experiences, but it's bringing us to the same point. So in a sense, the thread is love, the thread that links the breath, the sound, the yoga, it's all love. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
The thread is. I think love too, and I think that's definitely the the most, I think, um, the purpose I connect to is, I mean, is also love. I really, um, I've had moments that I was able to really feel that universal love. So it's something that breath can allow you to get there. But I mean, again, you don't have to do the breath to get there. You don't have to do any specific practice. It's all about you being true to yourself, you trusting, you letting go, and being in that moment 100%. I mean, to some extent. So yeah, that's the idea, and I think that love is it's pretty much, yeah. I wish the world was all about love, and but it's not, which is understandable because you need both sides. You need it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's part of my journey of bringing people closer to the love they have within, because it's all the same. I would say fabric, same. It's the same thing. It's the same elements, but people have different pieces of it, or different. They have different amounts of it. They have different versions of it, but it's all the same. That's how I interpret it.
yeah. Yeah, we all feel grief, sadness, betrayal, such as also joy, love, and ecstasy in different degrees. And you're right. And it's good to remember this fear and love spectrum, just like the pain and pleasure spectrum. Everything needs to exist, right? Where I see a movement coming along, and it's already been coming along for a while, but now it's being amplified, is this awakening to love with a capital L, not the love like you give me this, I give you that, or like tit for tat, or da, 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 I don't know, this kind of I'll only give you this if you give me that, that type of love. But it's more this I am you, you are me, like that type of love, like I see you, you see me. And as you mentioned, it doesn't matter the modalities. It could be sound, movement, breath. It could be just standing in the middle of a wintry blizzard and feeling that connection, right? I am no separate than the snowflakes coming down. Now, it may be hard to hear that right now. You may be like, she's going cuckoo. But breath work and sound healing and these experiences that are on offer, they're like a gateway. They're a gateway to remembering the I would say foundational element on which everything exists, love. It's the process of remembering it, right? And especially I say that because a lot of now, in nowadays life, especially in this northern hemisphere, with everything going on down south of our border in Canada, I feel the fear in my household. I feel the fear when I walk outside. There's so much fear. It's too easy to get drawn into the black hole, right? So how can we create environments such as these where we're reminded that love is actually more powerful if we nurture it, right?
Yeah, um, yeah, very nicely said. Yeah, definitely. That's my intention always for the sessions. I mean, uh, to create that moment, to create that experience. But am I creating that experience? Not really. I am just helping. I'm just there and allowing, because it's just creating that safeness and letting people be themselves and feel safe, let go. I think that's the key. Otherwise, yeah, even if you have the best sounds ever, people, if they're not open to it, they will never experience that. But I do my best. I really connect to the music in a way that I really try to be intuitive. I go to a session almost, I mean, I have a plan, but a lot of things change because in the moment I realize, okay, the energy is picking up. I need to support that. Or I feel like the wave is going down. So what can I add there? What can I do? So it's just a lot of being in that moment, feeling what's going on and creating that journey, I guess. And just connection. I think for myself, the one element I realized is, and many sound healers are doing that. I don't know if I'm a sound healer or not, but I create sound for people to experience the universe within, I guess, to some extent. But the one thing I really think helps is the physical instruments, because playing songs has always been great, but as soon as you add your touch at the moment, so this is one of the feedback I always receive. Okay, that drum that you were playing, I felt it. And it's just because I could create that based on the energy at that moment. And I cannot do that with almost any songs. So
Mhm.
that's the element that I guess any sound healer is doing. Probably they're doing it with bowls or other chimes and whatnot. But being in that moment and present and listening is key, I guess.
Yeah, highlighting the keywords you mentioned, presence, um, and letting go. And again, it's such an easy word to say, just let go. Right, try and say that to your mind that has, I don't know how many thoughts per second. So again, you're like this conduit to journey from here, which is for a lot of us overstimulated, to down here to see what needs shifting so that it comes back up here, and whew, okay, I am the universe. I'm everything. I'm love. Right? So it's a beautiful journey of descent and rising in a sense. But yes, the key, like letting go. I love that you mentioned that because for a lot of people, it's there's just we feel it. We feel it in our bodies. I'm tense. There's resistance. There's contraction. There's we think sometimes we're open, but it's only when we're in that experience if we actually when we actually realize that we're actually not open and that we're offered the opportunity to surrender to the music, to surrender to the breath, to surrender to what is rising up right now. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I think that's the the side of the brain that's very logical.
Hmm.
If you are that side normally is always analyzing. And if you're, let's say, in a breath session and you start breathing, you're like, okay, why am I doing this? What's going on? Or okay, cool, I hear sound. So if you're over analyzing and not trusting, I guess, it just it creates a different experience. I mean, that is also interesting enough. I guess we were chatting the other day that no matter what, it has something for everyone, even though they might not realize it or they might really explain it and okay, I did this, but I don't feel any, I can't really measure it. I can't. So even if they do, they say that, it's just there's always something for everyone. Yeah, so that, yeah, that's what crossed my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So again, entering with that open mind, open heart, and meeting yourself in that experience, right? So if you're a listener, maybe you've already gone to a lot of breath practices, and that's cool. But even there, even your first timer or nth timer, always coming in with that beginner's mindset of this journey's not the same as the other one. Just like when you practice in the morning your meditation and me, my meditation movement, whatever it is your practice, I think it's so nice when we're just reminded, okay, this is a blank slate. New information is going to come down, new downloads, new reconfiguration of this programming here so that I'm more and more and more in alignment each time to my truth, to the vibration of love, joy, peace, whatever. So yeah, it's beautiful. Hmm. There's medicine for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What would you say is the gap missing in the wellness scene? Do you see perhaps an opportunity for for a different type of experience? Because there's a lot of breath work, there's a lot of yoga, it's some may say saturated, right? So for somebody that's maybe Joe Blow in the government that's interested in all these modalities, like what would you say is the missing piece perhaps? Because if there's so much yoga and wellness, but yet there's so much fear and disease and disharmony inside and outside, just putting it out there, what would you say is could be the gap? Could be
Yeah.
the opportunity?
I think there is, I mean, there's one side, the gap about what is offered on the side that's people are offering, and there's a gap on the side of the receiving end or people who are experiencing those sessions. So I think on the offering side, I don't know if it's a gap, but there's as long as it doesn't matter. It's not about the quantity or how many practitioners are out there. It's about being unique and being yourself and just genuine and not necessarily just cookie cutting or some creating a moment based on some structure or I think it's just being genuine and yourself. That's the uniqueness is always something. I mean, maybe it could be a gap too. Sometimes, yeah. On the other side, I don't think there are enough practitioners for the number of people who need this. So it's on the other side is people really being open to it and exploring it and going to more sound session and more because it's just every session has its own thing to offer
Yeah.
uh, as long as they're genuine practitioners. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing, there's the authenticity and rawness of showing up as you as the practitioner offering these sessions, which would ideally attract the people that are asking for it, right? And on the receiving end, there's am I open to having maybe a different experience? If I'm used to, let's say, Ashtanga practices, I've never been to a sound healing session before. Like there's some people that dismiss, or even the person that doesn't have a wellness or spiritual practice, just dismissing it or putting in the label of woo woo, right? I'm using that because it's just an easy label to put out there. So yeah, there's this um there is a gap, but there's also this beautiful opportunity of having those practitioners believe in themselves, like believe in your talent. Like I'm in this journey as well. I can say this for me. It's like it's taken a long time, but every time I show up, I keep on showing up. It's like more courage, more confidence builds. And I'm sure it's similar for you. And it's not only the external validation, it's really you believing in what you have to share, your magic. And on the receiving end, it's, well, sometimes people don't even know what they need. They don't even know what they want. So there is, I think, the twofold thing of the practitioner needs to be confident and courageous enough to put out their offer there, come for this unique experience. And then the receiver of this has to be open also to experience something different, right? And so it requires both two people to tango, right? It requires both to meet at the end. And this is when we have the experience, that's when slowly the ripple effect starts, the movement, the wave. Yeah.
Yeah, on my side, for on my logical side of brain, my engineering side. because that's my education background, and most of my professional career was in that area. So continuous improvement is the key, yeah, the word that comes to my mind. It's one of the concepts that is always, in a way, I feel like it could be implemented anywhere. So when
Mhm.
you don't want to do a big bang change and you want to do uh, incremental little changes. When you talk about the gap, I think starting with, let's say I'm doing a yoga session, the element of sound and being choosing the sound properly and creating the right uh, auditory experience is always a touch that really changes the experience tremendously. And I think so any practitioner, if they work on that side a little bit more, because I've had sessions, I've been to sessions that really touch me, and I'm like, okay, this is very intentional, the playlist, the music, this quality of the sound, and versus sometimes you feel like, okay, it must be just one of those yoga playlists on Spotify that maybe there's no genuinity in it or there's no authenticity, I guess. So that's I think that layer that would be one continuous improvement because once you add that and just bring in connecting people to that rhythm, whatever is played and the music, I think it's just probably one step towards creating a better experience. And the other thing is for people who are probably not comfortable. Like you said, they might not be even open to, they've not even experienced sound healing. So what can you create for those people who is interesting or attractive? I would say more on the mainstream world that you're trying to create something that's it doesn't scare people because it this is not the practices that we try to offer. They're not meant for a certain group of people. So how can we do that? How can we advertise it differently or be mindful so everyone is interested or at least explores it or tries it? And of course, they can choose to come back or not. But I think maybe that's another gap that I can think of. But yeah, but overall, I don't think there is any saturation. Yeah, I don't think we're there. Mm.
Yeah. I think more people need to know about the healing benefits on all levels, emotions, mind, body, soul level of all of these modalities, breath, movement, sound, cacao, whatever it is, qigong, tai chi. It's all, again, the similar thread, reconnection, remembering who you are, love, 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 love. Um, yeah, because as you mentioned, and I love that you mentioned there's not enough. There's not enough practitioners because there's so many people that need this, right? But I think that's part of our responsibility as practitioners. I should change the word. Well, we are practitioners and also teachers, right? Facilitators, healers, whatever the word is, right? To us, drink our own medicine, right? The importance of integrity and us having gone through these experiences. And I found that and that adds to the authenticity, as you probably have noticed. It's the way that you then market becomes like almost effortless. It's natural. And your specific style of sound healing will attract the people that are drawn to you. So it's less about you changing yourself to match the beginners, let's say, or beginners, the people that are new at breathwork, let's put that in there. Or it's like not about you pleasing to the masses, is what I'm trying to say. It's like honing in on your skill, your craft, knowing that there's gonna be people that won't vibe with you and those that will, and focusing on those that will, which basically means focusing on what feels true and right for you. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you don't want to sacrifice the authenticity, uh, as long as you have the openness for everyone. And if you have that mindset of being open for any kind of people to join, the marketing will follow naturally, like you said, being natural and being it will be straightforward. It'll just show up. So yeah, that's I think it's these are very key elements, and I like your touch. And I know yourself, you've also done a lot of uh, sessions, and you've touched a lot of lives. I've participated in your
Mhm.
women's circles. I provided sound.
Mhm.
Uh, Stayed away from the circle part, but I was definitely there for to support. But I've seen how you being yourself has changed life. So I think that, yeah, you're a good example.
Yeah, for sure. And this conversation, I love it because it really is not only for the sound healers, the coaches, whatever. You can be that person that's working at your office 9 to 5 and has a family. Like it can be for anybody. I think the message now is like to be your own authentic self and knowing that as you are more, when you're more you, you're gonna attract your community, people that are really aligned. And I tell you, like that is how massive transformation happens. But it starts with that one person that has the courage to do their thing, to strut their strut, whatever that means. And they become like this magnet. Right? People are just magnetized to you because you do you so well. You don't do him, and I don't do her. I do me so well. So for anybody out there listening, it's not only for the wellness kind of industry or scene, whatever, it's anything you're doing. Like make sure that it's so authentic and feels good for you and that you're being true to you because there's not a worse dishonesty than to not actually be living in your purpose, doing what you love. Like I think that's a big truth that I had to face. Um, and yeah, it's I think we need more people like this is sort of a call to action in a sense, like more people having that courage to take the step outside of the comfort zone, to record that video they've been wanting to record for so long, to just start the podcast or to just do what it is, that thing that they really deeply want to do. Because that's actually healing in itself, not only for themselves, but it's also healing for their partner, for their neighbor, for everybody else in their vicinity. Hmm. I love how he's do a little turnaround. All
Well,
right. Yes. Do you want to add something?
no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna offer ask you what is coming down the pipelines for Rise with Rhythm. If anybody listening is interested in Saman and his beautiful talent, where can they find you? What is coming up?
Rise Rhythm. This year, I'm focusing on creating some tracks that could be used for myself and others. So doing some recording on in my mini studio in the basement here. So that's a lot, focusing on that, exploring the breathwork and drum beats at maybe different venues, collaboration with yourself and few other practitioners and facilitators. So those are things that are coming. And in terms of, yeah, I think more breathwork sessions I will have. I'm doing monthly sessions right now at in Manor Park, and there will be more. And in March, there's going to be another session you and I are going to collaborate on. We will have, I will also have continue the breathwork sessions, I believe, every month. So those are going to be there. And my website is just risewithrhythm.com. So that's how people can connect with me. I have an Instagram there as well. And overall, I think yeah, just trying to fine tune my musical side, because the rhythm, I've been progressively working on it. The other elements, the electronic element and producing music, yeah, that's what I'm really focusing on. And so this year I'm hoping to create some tracks. And I explored that uh, during my last session. I was able to play one of my tracks that I generated for a session, and I got very good feedback about it. So yeah, that's definitely encouraging. So I'm gonna do more, and definitely there will be, I would say, more music and maybe more official tracks that are gonna come out. Those are things that I see apart from the workshops.
I love it. And I'll link in the description the Instagram, the website, and link directly to the events. If you're in Ottawa, definitely come to Saman's workshop. I went to the last one that you were talking about. Amazing. Really amazing. Um, Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing. I know this conversation took a twist, but I think it took a beautiful twist. So, yeah, thanks for sharing your journey and your passion for sound, breath, and music and everything. And I look forward to seeing how this adventure continues in our collaboration. I think there's something really beautiful that can be created.
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for having me. It's such a good initiative that you're running this podcast aside from all the other things you offer. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.